Today's Jason Howarth, Vice President of Marketing at Panini America. Jason, great to have you on the show.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
I am doing amazing. Can you give a quick overview on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, first off, I have to, I always take you to task on that trading card wall behind you. I think that they shouldn't be tacked up like that. They need to be in nice card holders and protected properly.
Well, so here's the thing about that. I would agree with you. There is a separate box, which is off camera, that has Frank Thomas was my favorite player growing up. So I have every Frank Thomas card. I have some like Shaq rookies or Roger Clemens rookies. So the ones that are of actual value. But back in the day, these cards were supposed to pay for college. More specifically, the Greg Jeffries Future Stars card was supposed to be worth like $1 quadrillion. And guess what? It wasn't. And one thing that I always say is these cards are only worth something if I'm able to sell them. And quite frankly, there's probably not a card more than $20 on this wall. So for me, it serves me a lot more to have baseball card wallpaper than it does being like, hey, who's interested in this Harold Baines, Donruss, home or Diamond Kings card or something of the like?
Exactly. And it sounds like you and I grew up around the same age, because for me it was, man, I can't wait to get that 1987 Donruss Bo Jackson rated rookie, because that's going to be the thing that puts me over the top. Or as we were talking about Eric Dickerson behind me, that 1983 Eric Dickerson rookie card was, the prized possession, and it still is the prized possession, completely undervalued in the market for sure. But that's my own perception of that. So yeah, a little bit about me. You're right. I'm the VP of marketing for Panini Trading Cards. We're the exclusive trading card partner of the NBA, the NFL, the English Premier League, FIFA, NASCAR, and college. So, I mean, pretty much everything. And then we also have a relationship with Major League Baseball Players Association. So, so we're in it.
So there's so much that I want to dig into right now. Let's start with this in terms of the heat or popularity on the trading card industry, because it feels like over the last year, and certainly with me having baseball card wallpaper around me, people bring this up quite often of like, Rob, are you a huge trading card fan? And I'm just a huge sports fan, and this is my childhood and the manifestation of my dreams. But I'm curious to hear from you, from your perspective, the growth of the industry, the heat of the industry, because what I'm seeing is that trading cards have become the new sneakerheads. And what I mean by there's now a secondary market. So back in the day, we used to use Beckett to try and rate our cards and stuff. Now you've got a myriad of different ways that you can buy and sell these cards. There's limited edition. So can you dig a little bit more into sort of the current state of the trading card market?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that first off, there's always been a secondary market for trading cards. When you and I grew up, it was, there was no level of scarcity in the product, which devalued the product and made sure that you couldn't get, buy your house with that Greg Jeffries card that you were talking about earlier. That and probably performance. But, so now, I mean, the scarcity is built into the product a bit differently in that, cards are numbered, there's numbered, 1 of 1s, there's numbered to 25, there's numbered to 49, you name it, so that they're unique and limited in that factor. And then we've got a variety of products and brands across all of our sports that kind of start at like an entry-level point of view to a high-end level point of view. And our high-end might be a brand like Flawless, which comes in a steel briefcase, has diamonds embedded in it, has, pieces of gold embedded in the cards, along with the player autograph or cut pieces of the player jersey in the product. So that's really helped, elevate the marketplace. And then, the rise of digital and social has really made, to your point, the value of a card is only valuable based on what people want to sell it for and what people want to buy it for. And, back in the day, the only way to do that was to go into hobby stores or go into trading card shows and sell the product. Now you have a whole plethora of, places where you can look to sell those products, sell the cards individually, whether it's on eBay or some other platform. So that's helped elevate and really kind of give rise to, where people see the values, and really kind of understand what's happening in the market.
Is the industry still, so back when we're going to hobby shops to buy the packs, I think there is something beautiful. One of the reasons why I love sports so much is maybe I only had $7 and I could buy one pack of cards, and I would sit there and there's a box of 20 and I'd be like, I'm going to go into the back right and I'm going to go 3 down and you're going to pick it. And there was a very big relationship between you and where you're buying the cards in this pack of cards and the hope that's inside of it. And when I hear you talk about flawless and diamonds and gold, I feel like that's far away from where I was as a kid collecting cards. So if I look forward to the kids who are collecting right now, are they doing that with their parents, or sort of what does the kid market look like on this versus the mature buying and selling gold markets?
Yeah, the kid market is definitely growing. We've seen a lot of that happen. I mean, again, we have products that sell at Walmart and Target and hobby stores, and you can buy a pack of cards for $4.99 or $9.99 and still get some great quality players and quality cards in those products. You think of a brand like Prism, which kind of extends across all of our sports properties, whether that be NBA Prism or NFL Prism or NASCAR Prism, which just came out a few weeks ago, and WNBA Prism that just came out last week, where Sabrina is the hottest rookie in the space right now, and people are going after that WNBA card for her rookie card. So I mean, those products definitely exist, and I think the thing that's really cool about Panini is what we've done is we've created a portfolio that starts from low tier to mid tier to high end. And so in the case of the NFL, we'll have 36 different brands that are released in an NFL year. We'll have 33 different NBA brands that are released this year around this rookie class. Obviously a bit different in that, our first product for the 2021 NBA season won't come out until January, just based on the fact that, we're still 15 days away from this NBA draft when it typically is held in June.
So another question I have around this is, now let's think of this as an investment for the adults or the people out there in the market. And from just what I see on social media, because of course I do follow all of this different stuff, is people who are, let's call them hedging their bets or placing strategic bets. So you see rookies out there in the market that you're like, I'm going to start buying a lot of this player's card, hoping that this actually hits the way that we are hoping this hit 20, 30 years ago. So can you talk a little bit more about that side of things, the prospecting, or almost the I'm buying this as an investment, and how does that work from we know the number one picks, of course you want the Mike Trouts or the LeBrons or the biggest guys there, but being a sports fan and having knowledge enough to realize that, wait a second, I could get someone like DK Metcalf if I saw that a year ago or something, where now all of a sudden he's on the rise. What does that sort of look like, the prospecting market around investing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, obviously, trading cards has always been really compelling and built around rookies, right? And so you go deep there. And so waiting for a player to emerge, whether that's DK or someone else that, has popped out that, kind of surprises people, Tyler Hero, for example, based on his playoff run, guys like that. And so, yeah, we all know the number one, number two picks. We know the top 5 picks that are compelling, for that matter. But I think what's really happened, and I think this plays well into, the fantasy game, right? Like, we're not always going to get the number one pick for fantasy, right? So we go deep, we find our sleeper picks. We look at guys, rookies, like, a guy like T. Higgins for that matter, great wide receiver class in this NFL class. And a guy like T is, stepping up and balling out every game now, as we're halfway through the season. And so, you think about the guys like Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and the guys that were picked at the top of the draft, and you're like, yes, I want to collect those guys. But I think also people start thinking about, like, hey, I can go a little bit deeper, to your point, DK, or T. Higgins this year, or Josh Jacobs last year, as an example, as a running back, right? And so I think that, people can look at it that side. There's, a couple of different ways, people that are hedging their bets or investing are kind of looking at things. Everyone is in on the rookies, so they're looking, to try to build off of that. That's always going to be a part of the game. You see guys deciding to say, you know what, a guy like, and this is a bad example because he's balling out and has been for a while, but like a guy like Patrick Mahomes is a guy that is probably undervalued. I need to jump in on him rather than focus on the rookies, or focus on these guys that are going to, potentially put on a gold jacket at some point, rather than maybe just fully focusing on the rookie side of it.
And with someone like Patrick Mahomes, where does the maturity of the value come in? So I'm with you. So he wins the Super Bowl. Now, all of a sudden, his entire career is much more valuable now. But does how quickly does the market catch up? Maybe that's the better question of knowing the trajectory. All right, Mahomes is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks ever. So does the value of his cards immediately shoot up, or is it year by year gradual sort of? How does that work?
So, I mean, it's, I think obviously the value of his cards shoot up based on what's happening in the market. Obviously, if he's performing well, it's going to be up. If he's not performing well, it's going to be down. The rookie cards for those players are always going to be the ones that are, people want to get a hold of. But I also think the years where they're having great performances are the years to hold on to too. And, everyone has a different mindset in terms of how they collect. So, there's no right or wrong answer. Of course, if you're going to shoot for something, get the rookie. If you're going to shoot for, perform, a player, try to get his best year's performance, pulling from those sides. But I think the other thing that's really compelling now is that, what we're doing in our products is that there's we have various inserts that are so compelling now that, if you get a kaboom out of our Prism product, which is kind of very artistic and very cartoony like, those cards are selling really well, regardless of whether the player is a rookie or not. You've got our color blast versions that are popping up in our products, depending on what sport you're in, whether that be our, Spectre product for basketball or our Absolute product for NFL. Those are the cards that you want to kind of get. And I think because there's so much variety from a design perspective, find the designs that are important to you, that you like, are like, wow, this is really compelling. I love this. I want this, and start building your collection that way.
So I love that you're talking about this, because one thing that blows my mind probably on a daily basis when I look at my baseball card wall is the pictures that are chosen for some of the players. It blows my mind. So you've got Jim Abbott, one of the greatest athletes ever, who only had one arm, who they show him a picture of him bunting. And I'm like, this is incredible. Who came up with this idea? Or you can see somewhere clearly the player just got called strike 3, or there's a Tom Chambers one where he's alley-ooping it. And I'm curious in the choosing of the designs, and you sort of talked about it from the creativity and variety side of things, because I think there's so many opportunities, and certainly with the way that digital has evolved now, for us to extend the story. So while we might love Patrick Mahomes and seeing him in the stoic quarterback look, I would actually also like to see some other stuff, whether it's graffiti or black and white or a variety of different things. So can you take us a little bit deeper into sort of the choosing of the cards or the variety around the pictures?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think first off, obviously the variety is built on, whatever the brand, stands for. If it's very action specific, then we're going to look for like really good, compelling action photos. It's also built into the design. Does it fit and work within the design? And then, we always try to isolate the player. We try to minimize, background players, whatever we possibly can, but sometimes you just can't. And so, so it all depends on what the brand is and what those, what the standards are, or what the expectation is in the product. And so you'll see, the stoic look that, or, standard look where he's just holding the ball, right? Or, then you'll see the action in some of our other brands that kind of bring it to life. And I think those are the things that are the most creative. And then we talked about, the graffiti side thing, the animation side of things, the cartoony look. Those definitely have a place, and they're, are really popular, whether it's, that, you see Tom Brady behind me, like, I mean, that's an image that you want on a card, right? Like, So, bringing that to life.
I'm curious on the community side of things, because one of the great things about sports and certainly in trading cards is it is a passionate community. And I'm curious how Panini thinks about engaging the customer that you guys have, because you have someone who says, I want the product that you have. And oh, by the way, I want the product that I might not even be able to get from you. So you've got someone who's like, I'm ready, I'm here. And I want to dig a little bit deeper into your mindset, because I believe every company can take the things of how you guys are doing them and apply it to their business, even though you don't have to be selling trading cards for your mindset to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. I mean, I think, for us, we're always, thinking about being as authentic as we possibly can. Our product is athletes on cards. And so, whenever we can connect the athlete to the fan, we want to do that because it helps bring it to life, makes them want to collect that player more. This year is obviously very different given the pandemic and some of the limitations around how we can go about engaging fans. And so we've had to think differently about that. We've done a number of Zoom Q&As with fans and players. Just last week, we had a Zoom Q&A with Denver Broncos fans and 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐬𝐭 and Jerry Jeudy. And, just having them talk and interact and not just talk about, what's happening on the field, but their experience in Denver, what they're doing, what their mindset is, how they're preparing, and, kind of bringing that to life of who these players are off the field helps resonate with who we are as a brand and helps make people say, man, you know what? 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐬𝐭, he was so fun. He was so energetic. I want to go get his card because of that connection, because they see what he's doing beyond just the field. And so those things are really important. To us, I think, we're always looking to find ways to engage our fans. I think one of the things that's so compelling about our product is that I always say it doesn't matter how old you are. When you get a pack of cards in your hand, you're excited to see what's inside it. It doesn't matter how old you are. And if you happen to pull a player from your favorite team or a hot rookie, you're ecstatic, whether you're 4 or 40. And so, that is, we want to bring that experience to life as much as we possibly can, that energy, because there's nothing like it. And I think what's happened during the pandemic, especially, is that this feeling of nostalgia that's kind of like we sometimes forget is we're so focused on doing everything we're supposed to be doing. And then we're shut in and there's nothing for us to do. We harken back to your card wall as a kid, right? And what those cards mean to you, regardless of what the value is in a book or on eBay, right? Just that connection and that bond. And it just it's freeing because it gives you something fun to think about. And, being able to bring that to life and share that with consumers is really, really compelling and really what we try to push into on every step of the way. Whether, in the last 6 or 7 years, the trading card has evolved and you've got case breaking that happens now in the community, which is this online platform where a bunch of people, it's like the best socially distant community activation you could possibly have. And thank God they've been doing it for the last 6 or 7 years because it really prepared us for the pandemic. Because if you're an NFL fan, for example, there'll be 32 spots in that case break and you can be sitting all over the world on your couch at home, at 11 o'clock at night, participating in a case break. And if you're a Miami fan, you might end up getting the Miami Dolphins. I'm a Patriots fan. I might get the New England Patriots, but every card that comes out of that case that's a Dolphin goes to you. So this year you're going to get Tua. This year I'm going to still be focusing on my veteran guys from a Patriots perspective, unfortunately. So those types of things and that interaction, they're interacting online. They're chatting in the middle of the case break every time there's a great pull. You're excited for the guy that just got a top rookie because he's got the Cincinnati Bengals or whatever it is. And so that stuff has really kind of brought the whole mindset to life as well. And so we push in on that. And when we have the opportunity, we, try to bring players into those case breaks, around events, typically when we're not in a pandemic, because we get them to open up packs of cards and talk about the players that are on the card. Whether they're a teammate or whether they're someone they played against or, a moment or interaction that they had, because it just helps, humanize the player, for lack of a better definition.
So how does a case breaking work? Can I sign up and is this pooled liquidity where like how much does a typical case cost? And then is there 32 of us involved in this or some number? And help us understand this a little bit more, because I think this is a great idea from an engagement in a community building standpoint, because you're sitting there being like, all right, listen, together we're all in this, but I'm going to get my little piece. So can you describe it a little bit more for those who don't know?
Yeah, that's exactly it, Rob. I mean, it's pooled liquidity, for lack of a better definition. You're buying a whole case. So that case, for example, could be, a $5,000 case. It could be a $10,000 case, depending on what, there's the market price and then there's the secondary market price. So depending on where you buy it, depending on what the brand is, right, is going to change the value and cost per case. So, I mean, you might get in on a case break if there are 32 and pay in at $50 for a team. It just depends on how the case break is structured. You could, they auction off teams, they randomize teams. So that creates that kind of thing. But for example, my wife would kill me if I said, you know what, I'm going to go spend $1,500 on a box of Flawless, and I'm going to get 10 cards and I don't know what's going to be inside. If all of a sudden I participate in a case break and I'm, paying 20% of that overall value of a case, of a case of Flawless, that's a little bit more palatable for my wife. Hey, you know what? This is just like if I was going out to have dinner and hang out with the guys, like now you're doing it from your home and you're still hanging out with, 30 plus people, and then you've got a whole bunch of people that are online just watching to see what comes out of the product.
I love that. And it makes sense that you're just not on a per team, because I'd be like, sure, just give me the Pelicans because I just want to try and get a Zion, or the Bucks with Giannis. So you can almost take the element of March Madness bidding, if you've ever been in one of those Calcutta things where you're like, well, if you want to get the Pelicans, it's going to cost you more because someone over here is willing to bid for it. Whereas you get one of these teams that no one cares about, you're like, all right, let's roll with this.
And that's the thing that I think is really cool too, is that man, last year you'd be devastated if you ended up getting the Cincinnati Bengals in a case break. This year you're ecstatic because that means you're getting Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, and who are both balling out right now. So, I mean, you're ecstatic if you get the Cincinnati Bengals because every card that comes out that's a Joe Burrow or T. Higgins is going to you.
That's awesome. So one thing I noticed on the Panini website is a blockchain store. And I was like, what is this? And I wanted to see if you could tell more about blockchain cards or what the blockchain store is.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think everyone talks about blockchain. We've spent about 2.5 years kind of digging into it to figure out how it fit best within, our category and our space. And so we made a couple of different, processes that we put in place, right? And, blockchain is typically tied to digital and cryptocurrencies. We felt like, in this space, we already have a valued collectible. The last thing we need to deal with is a currency volatility. So we decided that our blockchain platform would be a private blockchain platform on our website, that is controlled within that own ecosystem. But every product would be sold in US dollars. So one, you're not worried about, currency volatility on top of a player performance volatility, so that was, I think, a very important first step for us. We launched our blockchain platform in January. We decided that the best way to do that from a trading card perspective was to introduce blockchain in both a physical and, a blockchain format. So we had 100 card set, featuring the best players across all sports. And you had a physical version of the card that also came with a blockchain version of the card. And so for collectors, who understood the value of a Kyler Murray National Treasures card in a physical form and might not have understood the digital side or the blockchain side of it, because part of this is education too, they already know what the value is from a physical perspective. So they're looking at that from okay, this is what the value is from a physical side of it. And I'm going to put a moniker of, a 10% above that from a blockchain perspective, or 20% above that based on the fact that I'm getting the blockchain asset with it. And so we've seen some of that. And then we've also done things where we've introduced blockchain as just purely blockchain digital assets. And there's a different value when there's not a physical card tied to it, but people are understanding what that means. So we've done it that way. And we literally have now kind of evolved from, we roll out our blockchain products where, we'll create a 30, 40 card set, but we'll release 10 cards per week so that we have blockchain kind of living on our platform all year long. And so there's always a new blockchain release every single week that people can push into. And so sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's physical and a blockchain asset. Sometimes it's just purely a blockchain asset. And then we've also introduced blockchain into our physical product. So if you open up a pack of cards or a box of cards, you might actually also get a blockchain card in there, which you go in, you punch in the code on our website at paniniamerica.net, under the blockchain side of it, and you automatically get that blockchain asset. So you're building that in as an extra value within the physical product.
I really like that because it is such a simple piece of fan engagement if you knew that you are going to get a blockchain card or there's a randomization of it, because now you're like, well, what is this thing? And you're immediately introduced because you're forced to. So now when you're typing that in, once again, you get that same feeling all over again of, wait a second, what could this be? And while you're talking about all of this, I was curious about, for both of us, what is the most valuable digital thing we've ever experienced? So I was trying to think about the difference between having a trading card where you can physically touch it, and if I were to receive a blockchain card where, let's say it's that same Kyler Murray thing where you're like, wow, this is awesome. There's a value of whatever, $100 on it. But what other areas of our life, if any, can we think about where we value the digital side of something that much? Can you think of anything?
That much? No. I mean, certainly there are digital assets. I mean, we all, I grew up collecting, buying cassettes and CDs, right? And now everything's on my phone. So, whether that's through Apple Music or Spotify, you name it, right? So there's, we value those assets for sure. So, but not to the level that you're seeing on a blockchain trading card. Depending on the player, depending on the card. I mean, we've had cards sell for, $300. We've had cards sell for $30,000, $40,000, on the blockchain side of it. And the blockchain side, like we talked about, is an emerging space, that's going to continue to evolve as people get to understand what the value of a blockchain product is. So if you're getting in now's the best time to get in, because for the most part, if you're getting the right player, the value of that card is only going to go up.
Amen to that, because even if you don't understand it, just be forward thinking enough to understand if you are more digital in something that you are doing, that is only going to be a better thing down the road, because we are only going to continue to get more digital in everything that we do.
And that's why we also decided for it to be in a US currency, right? Because, the last thing you need to try to do now is try to figure out, like, what is blockchain and how do I do it? And then figure out, like, oh, well, how do I go out and purchase this? I need a digital wallet. I need to go buy a cryptocurrency. And, this card costs 500 Bitcoins. And now I wake up tomorrow morning and it's 5 Bitcoins. Like, no, let's put something that people understand at a minimum currency, right? And then let's continue to educate them on the blockchain side of it and the value of the asset. We all know how important assets are, right? So, the value of that asset from a digital form and being able to have ownership of that asset, in a digital side. And then the other side is the level of authentication. We can track, you got that first digital asset, you sold it to me. Now I have the ownership of it. So you can see the whole timeline of, who's owned that card.
Well, it solves one of the biggest issues in the industry. I mean, I guess it does several. One, you don't have to worry about the grading of a 1 to 10 because all of them are a 10 of 10 because it's a digital thing. And then two would be the authenticity side of it, because by design, blockchain is built around authenticity. Yeah. So you're getting what you're getting, which in the trading card industry, as you're getting to these more expensive things, you need to be a little bit more cautious about, is this authentic? Is this graded? What's really going on with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I think that that's one of the things that, you know, I think we looked at things initially is like, here's the value that blockchain brings to the trading card category for us. It's a level of authenticity. It's a level of, you know, building out a digital asset and creating value for a digital collectible when people already understand that collectible. There's, I mean, people have been collecting, you know, cards since the 1890s, right? Like, I mean, so there's a value and understanding of a collectible instead of creating a digital collectible for the sake of creating a digital collectible that doesn't really have any value.
Love it. Jason, really enjoyed jamming with you. I love following everything that you do and that Panini does because I just love this industry. It's a part of who I am, and it's why I'm such a big sports fan, is because I remember back in the day with my Panini sticker album when 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐬𝐭 just went 40-40, and you're trying to fill all of the different teams with all the different stickers. And it was really a way for me to learn about sports and learning about value and trading, and there's just so much good stuff about it. Where can everybody connect with you?
Well, Panini is at Panini America across all social platforms. You can find our products at Walmart and Target and hobby stores, online at paniniamerica.net. Yeah.
And as always, I would love to hear from you about this episode. I'm curious, are you a card collector at all in any point of your life? And if so, who was your favorite player to collect? You can hit up FanFood on Twitter at FanFoodOnDemand, on Instagram at FanFoodApp, or on LinkedIn. And as always, you can hit me up on all social media platforms at Rob Cressy.